There comes a moment in life when you look around and there's no one there. No one to hold your hand, no one to carry the weight, no cheering crowd, no comforting voices. It's just you and the fight in front of you. And in that moment, you have two choices: break or rise. Today, I'm speaking to the ones who have chosen to rise, the one-man armies, the ones who keep fighting even when no one believes in them. The ones who keep fighting even when no one believes in them. Owning your battle means accepting full responsibility for where you are and what you face without waiting for anyone else to change your circumstances. Many people waste precious energy hoping that someone will come and save them, waiting for a perfect opportunity or the right person to lift them out of their struggles. But the truth is, your challenges were given to you for a reason, and no one else can walk through them on your behalf. The more you delay taking ownership, the longer you stay stuck in the same cycle. When you fully accept that the fight in front of you is yours and yours alone, something shifts inside you. You stop blaming your past, your circumstances, or other people, and you start focusing all of your strength and energy on what you can do today to change your tomorrow. Taking ownership also means embracing the discomfort that comes with it. It's not easy to look at a problem and say, this is mine to solve, especially when you didn't create it or when life feels unfair. But true power lies in acknowledging that you are the only constant in your story. You can't control what happened to you, but you can control how you respond. When you claim your battle as your own, you move from being a passive bystander in your life to the main character who takes action, makes decisions, and writes the ending. Think about the story of a young athlete who grew up in a difficult neighborhood with very few opportunities. He could have easily blamed his environment for his struggles, pointing fingers at the lack of resources, poor coaching, and negative influences around him. Instead, he chose to own his battle. He woke up early to train on empty fields, used bricks as makeshift weights, and studied techniques on an old phone with a cracked screen. No one was cheering him on or handing him the resources he needed, yet he kept showing up for himself. Years later, that same athlete earned a scholarship to a top university, proving that his success wasn't about where he started, but about his willingness to take responsibility for his journey. This principle applies to all of us. The moment you decide that your life is entirely up to you, everything changes. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start creating the improvement yourself. You begin to see obstacles not as immovable walls, but as challenges designed to build your strength. Owning your battle doesn't mean you have to do everything alone forever. It simply means that, at the core, you accept that this is your fight, your responsibility, and your opportunity. When you make that mental shift, you tap into a deeper well of determination, resilience, and focus. Ultimately, true freedom begins when you stop waiting for someone else to fight for you and start fighting for yourself. Isolation often feels like a heavy burden, but in reality, it can be the most powerful phase of your personal growth. Many people fear being alone because it strips away the distractions, the noise, and the validation they're used to getting from others. Yet, it is in those quiet, lonely spaces that you truly meet yourself. When you are surrounded by others, their voices often drown out your own. But when you're left in solitude, you are forced to confront your fears, your doubts, and your real desires. Isolation is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the training ground where resilience is forged, where mental clarity sharpens, and where your true strength is built without applause or recognition. Being alone teaches you self-reliance. Without a safety net, you begin to trust your own abilities and instincts. You realize that even without a crowd of supporters, you can still take the next step forward. These moments of solitude are often the times when breakthroughs happen, when you finally hear your inner voice and understand the path you're meant to take. It's easy to depend on others for motivation, but the strength you develop alone is unshakable because it comes entirely from within. Once you learn to stand on your own, no external force can easily knock you down. Isolation also filters out what's unnecessary. When you step away from the chaos of constant opinions, comparisons, and expectations, you get the chance to focus purely on your goals. Distractions fade, and what remains is the core of what really matters to you. This clarity allows you to build a foundation so strong that when you do re-enter the noise of the world, you move with confidence and direction. Think of it as sharpening a sword. Time spent in solitude hones your edges, making you more effective when it's time to step back into the fight. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur who spent years working alone in a small, windowless room, developing an idea that no one else believed in. Friends doubted her, and family suggested she take a safer path. But she chose to isolate herself from the distractions and negativity. Those endless nights of solitude were grueling. There were moments she wanted to quit, and times when the silence felt overwhelming. Yet, in that isolation, she built not just her business, but also an unbreakable belief in herself. When she finally launched her product, it became a success, and people marveled at her overnight achievement, not realizing that the real work, the transformation of both her business and herself, had been done in the quiet years when no one was watching. Ultimately, isolation shapes you into someone who no longer fears being alone, because you've discovered that your strength does not depend on anyone else. It is in those moments when the world is silent that you build the kind of resilience that can withstand any storm. Pain is often seen as something to avoid at all costs, but when understood correctly, it becomes one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. Pain is the body and mind's way of signaling growth, change, and adaptation. It pushes you beyond your comfort zone, revealing strengths you didn't even know you had. When you learn to use pain instead of running from it, you stop seeing it as a punishment and start seeing it as a weapon that sharpens you. Every setback, every failure, and every moment of discomfort carries with it the seed of transformation. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is this teaching me? That simple shift turns pain from an enemy into an ally. Using pain as a weapon means allowing it to fuel your drive rather than drain it. When life hits hard, you have two choices. Let the pain break you or let it build you. Those who master this understand that every moment of hardship is a chance to grow tougher, wiser, and more resilient. Pain strips away illusions and excuses, leaving only the truth about what you're willing to fight for. It also builds empathy, making you more understanding of the struggles others face, while simultaneously making you more determined to overcome your own. This isn't about seeking out suffering for its own sake. It's about refusing to let unavoidable pain go to waste. Too many people experience setbacks and allow the pain to paralyze them. They replay the hurt, nurse the wound, and remain stuck. But the ones who rise use that very pain as motivation. They turn heartbreak into hunger, fear into focus, and loss into lessons. They know that while pleasure can make you comfortable, only pain has the power to make you unbreakable. Consider the story of a college basketball player who tore his ACL just before the championship season. For many athletes, such an injury marks the end of their journey. And for a moment, he felt the crushing weight of his loss. He could have given up, drowned in frustration, or chosen an easier path. Instead, he decided to let the pain drive him. Every agonizing session of physical therapy became fuel for his determination. While recovering, he studied the game more intensely than ever, strengthening his mental play and leadership skills. A year later, he returned not only physically stronger, but mentally sharper, leading his team to a championship victory. His pain, rather than ending his career, had transformed him into a more complete athlete. Pain becomes your weapon when you choose to wield it intentionally, using it to cut through fear, doubt, and complacency. Every time you turn your suffering into strength, you sharpen yourself for future battles. The scars you carry aren't marks of weakness. They are reminders that you endured, adapted, and emerged stronger. When you truly grasp this, pain ceases to be something that holds you back. It becomes the very force that propels you forward. Discipline is the backbone of every battle, fought alone, the silent force that keeps you moving when motivation runs dry. Motivation is like a spark. It ignites quickly, burns bright for a moment, and then fades. Discipline, however, is the steady flame that endures through the darkest nights. When you are on your own, with no one to remind you to keep going, discipline becomes your most loyal soldier. It is the structure that holds you up when your emotions waver, and the drive that pushes you forward even when you feel exhausted, unmotivated, or afraid. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's the repeated action of showing up day after day, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates progress. Every small, consistent action you take builds into something far greater over time. People often overestimate what they can achieve in a single day and underestimate what discipline can build over weeks, months, and years. When you commit to disciplined habits, you no longer rely on temporary bursts of energy. Instead, you cultivate a lifestyle that naturally pushes you toward your goals. This is why discipline is often more important than talent or even passion. Talent might get you started, but discipline keeps you in the fight long enough to win. For those walking the lonely path, discipline also brings a sense of stability. When the world around you feels uncertain and unpredictable, your routines become your anchor. You wake up, put in the work, and stay committed, not because you always want to, but because you promise yourself you would. That promise, honored daily, builds self-respect. Over time, that respect grows into an unshakable confidence that no external validation can give you. Consider the story of a writer who dreamed of publishing a novel but struggled with self-doubt and procrastination. For years, she waited for inspiration to strike, writing only when she felt in the mood. But her manuscript never progressed. Eventually, she committed to a disciplined routine, writing 500 words every morning before sunrise. No excuses. Some days, the words flowed effortlessly. Other days, each sentence felt like pulling teeth. And he put this in such a cave sentence. He felt interested in the romance that each letter produced on her pen, that she might write the 10th, but she stuck with it day after day, honoring her commitment. After a year of disciplined writing, she held in her hands a completed manuscript that once felt impossible to finish. That manuscript not only became her debut novel, but also launched a successful writing career. Looking back, she realized it wasn't talent or fleeting bursts of motivation that got her there. It was discipline, her quiet but relentless ally. When you fight your battles alone, discipline stands beside you as your invisible army. It doesn't shout or celebrate. It simply shows up with you every single day. And as the days add up, the impossible becomes inevitable. Discipline turns lonely effort into undeniable achievement, proving that the one who stays the course, even without applause, always wins in the end. It's so hot. A one-man army doesn't win battles because he has the most resources, allies, or even talent. He wins because he refuses to quit. Persistence is the trait that separates those who eventually succeed from those who surrender halfway through the fight. Life will throw obstacles your way, test your patience, and challenge your willpower. There will be days when everything in you screams to give up, when progress feels painfully slow, and when the effort seems greater than the reward. But refusing to quit is about making a decision that no matter how many times you fall, you will always stand up one more time. It's the understanding that setbacks are not the end of the road. They're simply part of the journey that shapes your character and prepares you for the victory ahead. Every person who has achieved something significant has faced moments where quitting felt like the easiest option. The difference between them and everyone else is that they chose to keep going despite the fear, the pain, and the uncertainty. Refusing to quit builds mental toughness because each time you push through difficulty, you strengthen the belief that you can handle whatever comes next. Over time, that belief becomes unshakable. You stop being intimidated by challenges because you know you have survived worse before. This relentless attitude also changes how you view failure. Instead of seeing it as a final verdict, you start to see it as feedback, a lesson in what to improve for the next attempt. Quitting means the story ends where you are. Persistence means giving yourself another chance to rewrite the ending. The path might not look the way you expected, but as long as you keep moving, the possibility of success stays alive. Take the story of Thomas Edison, who is often celebrated for inventing the light bulb. What people forget is that before his breakthrough, Edison failed over 1,000 times. When asked about his failures, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each failed attempt could have been the reason to quit, but Edison's refusal to give up eventually gave the world one of its greatest inventions. Lord, I obtained the world's best, greatest invention. Imagine if you had stopped at the 999th attempt. We might be living in a very different world today. Refusing to quit doesn't mean ignoring reality or blindly pushing forward without adapting. It means staying committed to your vision while learning, adjusting, and growing through every setback. Every moment you persist, you prove to yourself that giving up is not an option. And the longer you stay in the fight, the closer you get to the breakthrough that will make all the struggle worth it. In the end, persistence always wins because the person who refuses to quit eventually finds the way forward, no matter how difficult the journey may be. To every fighter out there standing alone on the battlefield, you are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are a one-man army. Your struggle today is shaping the warrior you were always meant to be. One day the world will finally understand the weight you carried and the strength it took to carry it alone. Until then, keep fighting, keep moving, keep becoming, because even one person with the courage to stand alone can change everything.